you have to look at it from, I think Chris Weidman is amazing. I'm a massive fan. But you have to look at, when you look at the amount of defenses and you look at a guy like Anderson Silva, for example, I think Anderson Silva is the GOAT because he's the guy. He's always been a hero of mine. But you have to look also in terms of era of title defenses, who these guys fought. Did they fight a guy with a part-time job? Did they fight full-time fighters? Was the sport ever as developed as it is right now? But I can't take away from any of those guys. I'm just saying in today's age of fighting, that amount of defenses is not always possible. Mm-hmm. And right now I still have a long way to go before I'm considered as the greatest of all time, and even the greatest middleweight of all time. But after this fight, I'm right up there. I'm getting very close to that.
Fight week for UFC 319 felt hot already. Then one rumor poured gasoline on everything. Dricus Du Plessis has been training with Khabib Nurmagomedov. Even saying it changes how fans picture the first clinch with Khamzat Chimaev. Khabib stands for measured pressure, clean rides, and the calm that breaks opponents who can't find air. If Dricus touched that energy, even for a few sessions, it might be the most valuable prep he could get for the sport's most relentless bulldozer. While that story spread, the conversation around the card kept rising. Alexander Volkanovski fired back at a hyped wrestler who said he'd drag him into deep water. Volkanovski laughed. He'd mop the floor with him in straight wrestling, and if he got planted, he'd spring back up. He reminded everyone he shared 25 hard minutes with Islam Makhachev twice and never looked out of place. Paper resumes don't win under bright lights. That tone set the mood for the week. It also fed the main event pressure. Dricus isn't a guy who hides from big talk. He leans into it. Chris Weidman suggested that beating Chimaev could put Dricus third on the middleweight all-time list. Dricus nodded and then pushed the idea further. He praised Anderson Silva as a hero, then argued that today's field is deeper, sharper, and far more punishing. Defenses now, he said, are harder than they used to be. He admitted he still has work to do, but he believes a win. Saturday moves him near the top. That kind of confidence plays because Dricus is honest about risk. He knows Chimaev can finish anyone who stalls in space. He knows giving up his back at the fence is a dangerous habit. The reason this matchup feels different is that rumors suggest he's been addressing those exact holes. Godzi Rabadinov, a trusted voice from Khabib's camp, casually told an interviewer that Khabib and Dricus shared several practice sessions ahead of the fight. Reports claim they weren't full camp rounds, but they were real. According to those accounts, Khabib did Khabib things. He pinned Dricus for long stretches, cycled mat returns, and showed how to make small frames do big work. Rabadinov even floated the idea that Khabib could hold his own at middleweight now, after putting on size since retirement. Fans took it as a headline, but the smarter takeaway sits under the surface. If Dricus felt that standard of control and learned the steps to break it, he just gave himself a blueprint for surviving the exact storm he expects. And Chimaev is a storm. He shoots from far. He connects the hands before you settle. He stacks hips, rides, and talks while he works. The worst response is panic. The best response is a simple plan you can execute while your lungs burn. The Eagles School teaches that plan like a language. Win head position, build a post, drag the head to the weak side, don't reach back, don't give the hook before you turn. Stand when the cage is doing half the work. That's boring too. Watch and priceless to feel. There's a split among champions looking from the outside. Henry Cejudo is backing Dricus. He sees a fighter who thrives in chaos, finds big moments in the clinch, and refuses to mentally break. Kamaru Usman isn't buying it. He says Dricus hasn't seen a true top-tier wrestler in years. He points to Derek Brunson getting early control, and even Brad Tavares landing takedowns despite being a striker by trade. In Usman's mind, those clips don't translate well against Chimaev's non-stop chain pressure. Maybe both views are true in different minutes. Dricus can be taken down, and he can also turn an ugly exchange into a tide shift with one violent bump. Chimaev can look like a tidal wave, and he can also over-pursue when he smells blood. That's why the Khabib connection matters. It suggests Dricus trained to deny the second and third effort, not just the first shot. One clean stand can flip around. One denied mat return can make a bully hesitate. You don't need to win every second. You need to change a bully's mind. Zoom out, and the co-main chatter adds extra charge. The week's talk labeled a matchup as a sleeper banger with a dangerous wrestler on a streak and an undefeated striker ready to prove a point. Volkanovski's sharp reply became a banner quote. He said, "Credentials mean nothing if you can't keep a man down, and that MMA grappling is his world." Even if you think that debate is separate, it feeds the theme of the night. Pressure only wins if the other man forgets his exits. That lesson hovers over the main event. The early minutes will answer the most urgent questions. Does Khamzat still blitz from the horn, or does he force Dricus to commit first? Does Dricus intercept with the right hand, or does he play longer, try to drag entries to the fence, and test how much patience the challenger has? If Khabib's touch is real, we'll see it in the way Dricus builds frames without surrendering his neck, in the way he kills a hook before he turns, in the way he returns to his feet without wasting a puncher's gas tank. And then there's the quiet math called cardio. Dricus says his tank at middleweight is better than advertised. Chimaev says life at this weight lets him push without redlining early. Only live speed can prove either claim. If the first round is chaotic and they both breathe through their mouths back on the stools, the fighter with better habits wins the next 5 minutes. That means disciplined exhales in the clinch, no wasted squeezes, and the courage to reset instead of forcing a dying grip. Legacy sits behind all of it. Dricus invited big talk by mentioning eras and greatness. He knows the internet is waiting to judge either way. Win, and the conversation gets uncomfortable for people who want to keep the past on a pedestal forever. Lose, and he'll be told he aimed too high too soon. Chimaev carries his own burden. He's been labeled the next superstar for years. Beat the champion clearly, and that machine lights up again. Grind out a sloppy win, and doubters will pretend it says more than it truly does. Maybe that's why the rumor about Khabib hit so hard. It gave supporters of the champion a reason to believe his worst habits are getting trimmed. It gave supporters of the challenger a new challenge to root for. More than anything, it made the main event feel like a thesis defense for two schools of thought. One says relentless volume breaks everyone. The other says educated resistance survives long enough to land the shot that matters. Fight night will grade the paper. The cage has no patience for speeches. As we wait, the best prediction is a humble one. Expect both men to take turns looking in control. Expect moments where Chimaev seems unstoppable. Expect moments where Dricus makes him stall and think. The tiny choices will decide it. Does Dricus peel the hands before turning? Does Chimaev settle his weight before hunting a finish? Does either man reach in a way that invites a mistake? Those details don't trend on social media, but they determine everything once the canvas starts squeaking. If the reports are accurate, Khabib focused on details that help in ugly spots. Chin tucked, eyes open, hands fighting before hips move, making the cage a partner instead of a prison. That kind of teaching doesn't add flashy tools. It adds freedom. Freedom to stand when you would have turtled. Freedom to strike after a reset instead of grabbing a desperate clinch. Freedom to drag a great first-round opponent into a second round he didn't plan on. Freedom is the quiet currency of champions. And if the rumors are exaggerated, Dricus still walks in with something valuable: clarity. He knows what Khamzat wants. He knows where mistakes live. He knows that one greedy grip can get him shelved, and one greedy chase can get Chimaev countered. That alone can slow the blood enough to make the right read at the right time. Pressure wants panic. Clarity denies it. Somewhere in the noise of boots on canvas and corner voices, that battle between panic and clarity will crown the winner. The final picture is simple. First contact tells the truth. A strong entry from Chimaev will test Dricus's discipline at the fence. A clean intercept from Dricus will test Chimaev's patience in the pocket. If Khabib's fingerprints are on the champion's defense, we'll feel it when the crowd groans and he's still prize-free. If they aren't, we'll feel it when the mat returns keep stacking. Either way, this is the kind of fight that rewrites resumes, not just rankings. Saturday night has that kind of gravity written all over it.